everybody. I'm Sue Patterson, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about homeschooling and specifically about unschooling. Our family started homeschooling back in 1996, so that was a long time ago. And my kids, they're all grown. They are 24, 27, and 29. And, when they look back, they love their childhood. They had a great time, and we're really well connected with them, and I wouldn't change it. So what I do is I'm a coach, and I help families figure out how they can do this too, how they can have this fun adventure as far as learning goes. I'm not here to try to convince everybody to do this because some people are perfectly happy with their school experience. But for those that aren't, I want to make sure you know that you've got some options. I'm going to switch over to screen share, and I'll give you some information. I speak at conferences, and so I have lots of things like this. If you have questions, if you have something that you want to know about homeschooling, please ask. And don't worry, because I have really thick skin. I'm really comfortable with what we did. And I came from a pretty mainstream place, to be really honest. When I first had kids, I never in my wildest dreams thought we would do this. And we did. So nothing you asked me is probably, so I think I've thought of every possible reason not to do it, or every possible fear that somebody could have. So basically what this is a video about, for people that are considering, they're maybe thinking about homeschooling or unschooling their kids. So is homeschooling or unschooling an option for your family? That's what you're here to find out, right? So let's see what's holding you back, because something is. Right. So sometimes we run into a panicky time of year. Lots of times that's in that July, August time frame. The new school year is approaching. Or people reevaluate if this is going to work mid-year, like at the holiday break. Maybe fall didn't really go that great, or it wasn't quite what they had expected, or their kid is unhappy, and they start to think, well, maybe we should just leave at the break. So it's not been going well, or you just don't want to send them back. A lot of times families, especially over the holidays, families are really connecting well, and they're like, well, I don't know, I hate to break this up, just so they can go back to school. So that's sometimes an option. So could you actually do this? That's what you're asking, right? So what are those people that are thinking about it, what have they been doing? They've been sifting through the internet. They've been looking at blogs and Facebook groups and books online and friends of friends. And before long, the internet is a fabulous place. It gives us tons of information. And sometimes you start second guessing what you read. And you're like, well, is this? And then you're second guessing yourself. Or you're just getting overwhelmed because there's too much information to get through it all, right? So hopefully this is going to help you out a little bit. I get it. So what I was telling you earlier, I was a mainstream suburban mom. I was a part-time nurse. I had 3 kids. We were a military family, so we moved a lot. And it just wasn't working for us. These were my little guys when they were little. Super cute. So what we ended up doing was everybody did preschool and kindergarten and first grade. Michael finished first grade, Katie finished kindergarten, and then Alyssa, the youngest, went to preschool. Interestingly, that we can get to later, is that Alyssa ended up going to high school for a little bit, for 1.5 years, because she wanted to see what it was like. So that's kind of an interesting layer, that how did an unschooler do in a high school setting? She did great for the Little spoiler alert. Because here they are now. It's kind of large, but they've got families and they own homes, and these three at the bottom, I don't know if I can show you with the cursor. These three right here, this one, and this one, were those three that were in that picture. And I'm a grandma, so that's baby Jackson and my husband. And so this is what they look like now. I guess I put them up here. I just want you to see they're just normal people. They weren't brainiacs when we started doing this. They weren't exceptional students. They liked what they liked. They enjoyed learning. They enjoyed the things that they were interested in. Michael was particularly interested in like community service and other cultures and traveling. And Katie was really into theater and singing and dancing. So we did tons of that. And then Alyssa was really into pop music and makeup and hair. And now she's a hairstylist. And everybody's successful. Everybody's happy. Everybody's just pursuing their young adult life, you know. And I'm not saying it's without angst. Everybody's got that. But they come at it differently because they really know themselves. And they understand what they like and what they don't like. You know, for lots of us, when we went to school, we didn't discover that till later because all of that had to be shelved, right? All of that had to wait until we were done checking all the boxes for the school or for whoever else was telling us. And with unschooling, it's a lot more about figuring out what boxes you want to check, what's going to be your unique path. So my main reasons, you know, that I grabbed this quote because I loved it, that children have so much inherent exuberance. Why do the schools spend so much energy trying to tamp it down instead of allowing children to express it? You know, Michael used to get sent home with his red folder of how many times he talked to the guy next to him in class, or whether he was dueling with pencils in the back of the room, or, you know, whatever, whether he wouldn't read in unison off the chalkboard. And it really started to weigh him down. It made him really dislike learning, dislike the school experience. And we're talking first grade. And, you know, back then I was a mother of a first grader. I looked at those third grade kids and they looked so old. And I thought, oh man, they're so unhappy. I don't want them to be that. So we started down our path. So we had things like losing the joy of learning, learning to dislike learning. It was creating a wedge in our family. There was a time that he brought home a worksheet and he says, no, the teacher says don't ask your parents how to do this because they won't know. Because it was some core curriculum thing. And so because we would have showed him a different way to do the math, I guess, I don't know. But I thought, you're implying we can't do first grade work. They were. So there is just this huge push for conformity. And that's something that lots of families start to notice. And depending on your child, you know, you might have one that really kind of caves to that, and then they become people pleasers, or they really are worried a whole lot about peer pressure. Or then you have the more rebellious type that they're thinking, well, I can't possibly meet the demands. And so they become more rebellious. But all of that is because there's this push for conformity, right? And then even in my son's case, they were like, well, maybe he could use some ADD medication just because he was a rambunctious little first grader, you know? So those were my main reasons. So in the end, what I thought was, what do I have to lose? I can at least do as well as they're doing. And I can always send them back if this doesn't work. I pay taxes. So that was kind of what I was thinking. See if I can make what I want to do with this video is I want to make sure that you get some facts, because sometimes, and tomorrow we'll talk more about myths, but specific facts that you should know is that homeschooling is legal in every state. And the laws vary. Some states don't require anything. Other states require somebody coming out to your home and seeing a portfolio of work. Not very many of those, but there are a few. Some require testing at various ages. And it's interesting, some require testing, but they don't require that you turn it in anywhere. So I guess you just like put it in a little drawer in the hallway. And but understandably, they don't have any money coming in for the homeschool kids. Why would they want to allocate any resources towards keeping track of that? It seems ridiculous. But it is legal in every state. And unschooling, from a legal standpoint, is just a method of homeschooling. So it's also legal. So you might have somebody say, oh, that unschooling, they're not really doing it legally. Yeah, they really are. You know, unschooling really is backed up by educational research, and it is not the same, and we can talk more about it. Sometimes you'll hear words like unparenting or things like that. It is not that. If anything, it's the opposite. You really are tuned into your kids. You're doing a lot with them. You're helping them explore what they need to explore. And so you are parenting right there with them. But what you're doing really is you're kind of creating more of a partnership, so they have more say over their lives. It's not that it's always top down, my way or the highway. Because as we all know, or most of us know, after you've parented for a while, if you get too much like that, all you're going to do is have kids that are trying to get out from under your control. They're going to be trying to find a way around whatever the strict rule that you're putting in place. Much better for you would be to partner with them, to have a relationship where you listen to them, where then they will listen to you, because doesn't everybody just want to be heard, right? Isn't that the bottom line on humanity? And so I think that the same thing goes with kids. When you listen to them and you value what they have to say, they will learn to do the same. So the other thing to remember is that support groups exist all over the place. They're in person in your community, they're online. They're kind of this under the radar. It's so funny when I have clients that are just getting their kids out of school, and then they're like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on and I didn't even know it. Lots. And what's also, even in some of the smaller communities that you don't see a ton, those people are often connecting online, or they're connecting regionally, where they're getting together for a big camping trip, or the kids are getting together online, and there's all kinds of ways to connect. So it's not nearly as isolated as it might have been, or as people fear it is. So because parents' fears often stem, missed my apostrophe, sorry about that. Parents' fears often stem from myths and mistruths. So that's one of the things we're going to knock out this week. We're going to get rid of the myths. We're going to get rid of the non-truths that kind of get passed along. Well, I knew this family one time who did this. Okay, we'll talk about it. And, you know, lots of times people worry, college, can they get into college? Yes, unschoolers get into college. And no, you're not going to make them weird and awkward, because that's what people worry about too. Most likely, if you're asking about weird and awkward, you're probably not weird and awkward. And so your kids probably are learning all kinds of social cues from you. And the other thing is, if they are weird and awkward, school's the worst place for them. You know, that's where they're going to be bullied, and they're going to be, it's going to have a whole stigma to them that's going to affect their self-esteem and how they learn and just their general childhood. So, but you doing this isn't going to make them weird and awkward. Okay. And the other thing is, people worry about, are doors going to close? Will opportunities not come to them because they were not in a school? And that was not our experience. And when I wrote a book called Homeschooled Teens, and I interviewed 75 young people from 15 to 39, and they talked about all the opportunities that they had because they were in this unconventional way. They were able to do things. Their schedules were so much more flexible, and they were able to pursue paths that they probably wouldn't have been able to do if they were going to have to do it somewhere between 4:30 and 7:30 in the evening, right? In between everything else. But having the flexibility of their schedule being wide open to what they wanted made all kinds of doors open for them. So that's pretty much it that I wanted to explain as far as facts. I'm going to give you some resources of things that that I offer, and I'll put those in the comments too, because I have these two websites. One is unschoolingmom2mom.com, and my coaching website is suepatterson.com. But I have a ton of free stuff, so you can look over here. I have a Facebook page that gives out lots of inspiring stuff, and that's Unschooling Mom2Mom, and a YouTube channel that I'm just barely scratching the surface on. And then Instagram, I do a lot of stuff over there, and Pinterest. I do a weekly email that comes out every Friday that gives just 5 quick things of interesting things that are going on in the unschooling community or that unschooling families would be interested in. All of you are welcome to it. Lots of the topics have to do with parenting or with just cool things that I found on the internet that I think that parents would be interested in. So you're more than welcome to sign up for that. You can do it at either of those two websites. And then I have a free ebook called Unschooling Your Teen. And if you go to the teen section at Unschooling Mom2Mom, you'll see it there. And I think it's also in the sidebar for my coaching website. And then I have DIY options. Once a month, I do a monthly unschooling guide, which is 20 to 30 pages of ideas and worksheets, and it's helped to move you from this more schoolish type thinking into a more unschooling way to be. So it's only $5 a month. So if it's something that you think, oh, I might be interested in that, or maybe you are a homeschooler and you're thinking, I want to know a little more about unschooling and how we could maybe do it. It's a really inexpensive way to go about it. And then I have a course called Chaos to Confidence, and I'll link it. That's a little bit bigger. It's got it has 9 videos that are anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour on 9 different topics that are really common that people need when they're first starting out, or it deals with questions that people have. So, a huge advantage to having 20 years plus of unschooling and homeschooling experience is that I can help you find where are the potholes in the road? Where are you going to have a little bit of trouble? What could you do to avoid them? What are things that I wish I had done or wish I had not done? And I'm happy to share all of that. Because then I also have the coaching, which could be a quick phone call. I have month-to-month packages. I have a membership program that's $20 a month, and we do weekly coaching calls. So that turns out to be really great because you can bring your problems and we'll talk about it. Plus you're in a private community that helps you just not feel so isolated, and there are people from all over the world in there. So that's been really nice. And then I have a mentoring for the year program too. So I think this is it. So leave questions below. I'm happy to answer them. Thanks for hopping on here. I hope I didn't take up too much of your time, and I will see you back in the group. I'll be around this evening, so if you have questions, I can answer them, and then I'll be back again tomorrow. All right, we will see you online. Thanks.